How would you react if your husband handed you legal papers the morning after you demanded to sleep at another man's house? What happens when the person you blame for overreacting fights back with a lawyer? This is the story of the night my ultimatum backfired and my life changed in a single phone call. The evening light filtered through our townhouse windows as I paced the living room, rehearsing what I was about to say. Halden sat at his computer in the corner, fingers clicking away at some software project, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. At 34, I'd spent enough years being the dutiful wife, and frankly, I was tired of it. "Halden, we need to talk," I announced, crossing my arms. He looked up from his screen, his brown eyes tired behind wire-rimmed glasses. "What's up, Eirene?" I took a deep breath. Rowan's having a party this Saturday night. It's going to run really late, probably until 3 or 4 in the morning. I want to stay over at his place instead of driving home drunk or taking an expensive Uber. The clicking stopped. Halden turned his chair to face me fully, his expression shifting from casual attention to something I couldn't quite read. "Stay over, at Rowan's apartment." "It's perfectly normal, Halden. We're adults. Rowan and I are friends, good friends, and I'm not going to let your insecurity dictate my social life anymore." He was quiet for a long moment, just staring at me. The silence stretched uncomfortably. "Eirene, you're asking permission to spend the night at another man's house. How is that normal in a marriage?" I felt my face flush. "I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm trying to be considerate by letting you know ahead of time instead of just doing it." "But you just said you wanted to stay over. That sounds like you're asking." "Fine, maybe I am asking, but only because I know you'll throw a fit if I don't." I moved closer, softening my tone slightly. "Look, Rowan's been a good friend to me. He listens when I need to talk. He makes me laugh. We have a connection that I haven't felt in years." Halden's face went pale. "A connection? Not like that," I said quickly, though even as the words left my mouth, I wondered if they were entirely true. "I mean an emotional connection, someone who gets me, someone who doesn't make me feel like I need permission to breathe." "I don't make you ask permission to breathe, Eirene, but sleeping at another man's house? That crosses a line." I threw my hands up in exasperation. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're being controlling and jealous. In 2024, Halden, married people can have friends of the opposite sex. They can even stay over at their houses without it meaning anything inappropriate." "Can they?" His voice was quiet, but there was something sharp underneath it. "Is that what you really believe?" "Yes, I do. And if you can't handle that, maybe that says more about you than it does about me." Halden stood up slowly, running a hand through his dark hair. At 36, he'd always been the steady one, the reasonable one. But right now, he looked like a man trying to process something incomprehensible. "I need some air," he said, heading toward the back door. "So that's it? You're just going to walk away instead of having an adult conversation?" He paused with his hand on the doorknob. "What kind of conversation do you want to have, Eirene? You've already decided what you're doing. You've made it clear that my feelings about it don't matter. What exactly am I supposed to say? You're supposed to trust me. You're supposed to support me. Trust you to spend the night at another man's house. Support you in doing something that makes me deeply uncomfortable." He shook his head. "I need to think about this." After he left, I immediately grabbed my phone and called my sister Sel. "He's being such a controlling ass," I told her, pacing around the kitchen. I told him about staying at Rowan's, and he completely freaked out. "Wait, you're staying over at Rowan's? The personal trainer?" Sel's voice perked up with interest. "Eirene, that's amazing. You're finally living your truth." "It's not like that, Sel. We're friends." "Sure, but friends can become more. And honestly, from what you've told me about him, he sounds way more fun than Halden. When's the last time your husband made you feel excited about anything?" I thought about it. When was the last time? Holden and I had fallen into such a routine. Work, dinner, Netflix, bed, repeat. Meanwhile, my conversations with Rowan were electric. He made me feel alive, attractive, interesting. You deserve to be happy, Eirene. Don't let Holden's insecurity hold you back. After we hung up, I felt vindicated. Sel was right. I deserved to be happy. I deserved to have friends who excited me, who made me feel like myself again. I was texting Rowan when Halden came back inside. It's happening, I typed quickly. Saturday night. I'll be there. Good, came Rowan's immediate response, followed by a winking emoji. Can't wait to have you all to myself. I felt a little thrill at his words, quickly followed by a stab of guilt. But that was silly. We were just friends. Friends could flirt harmlessly. I looked up to see Halden standing in the doorway, watching me. His expression was unreadable. Who are you texting? Rowan. I was just letting him know about Saturday. You've already decided then. I told you I was doing this, Halden. I was hoping you'd be mature about it. He nodded slowly, like he was processing something important. I see. Do you? Because you're acting like I told you I was having an affair or something. It's one night, Halden. One party. With friends. Right, friends. He headed toward the stairs. I'm going to bed. That's it? You're not going to say anything else? He paused on the bottom step. What would you like me to say, Eirene? That I'm comfortable with my wife sleeping at another man's house? That I think it's a great idea? That I'm excited for you? I'd like you to say you trust me. I've always trusted you, but trust goes both ways, doesn't it? And right now, I'm having trouble figuring out what I did to lose yours. With that, he disappeared upstairs, leaving me standing alone in the kitchen with my phone still buzzing with messages from Rowan. Sunday brunch at Millfields was supposed to be a celebration. I'd specifically chosen this trendy spot because I knew we'd run into people we knew, and I wanted them to see how progressive and modern my marriage was, how secure Halden and I were in our relationship. Instead, the tension at our table was thick enough to cut with a knife. So, Eirene, my friend Jessica said, cutting into her avocado toast, how was the party last night? I saw some pictures on Instagram. Looked like fun. I glanced at Halden, who was methodically eating his eggs Benedict without looking up. It was amazing. Rowan throws the best parties. Such a fun group of people. And you stayed over? This from Marcus, Jessica's husband, with barely concealed curiosity. I did. It was the responsible thing to do, considering how late it went and how much everyone was drinking. I kept my voice light and casual. Halden was totally supportive of it. Weren't you, honey? Halden finally looked up, his expression neutral. I want Eirene to be safe. That's so mature, Jessica gushed. I wish my husband was that understanding. Marcus would probably chain me to the house if I wanted to sleep over at a male friend's place. Different generation, I guess, I said, shooting a pointed look at Halden. Some people are more secure than others. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. I don't know if it's about security. It's just boundaries, you know? What works for one couple might not work for another. Exactly, Halden said quietly. Boundaries. Before I could respond, I heard a familiar laugh from across the restaurant. Rowan was being seated at a table near the window, looking devastatingly handsome in a fitted black shirt that showed off his trainer's physique. Our eyes met, and he waved, that charming smile spreading across his face. Is that him? Jessica whispered, following my gaze. Oh my God, Eirene, he's gorgeous. I felt a flush of pride mixed with something else, something that made my stomach flutter. He's a good friend. Rowan made his way over to our table, and I couldn't help but notice how every woman in the restaurant tracked his movement. Hey, beautiful, he said, leaning down to kiss my cheek. His hand lingered on my shoulder just a beat too long. How are you feeling today? You were pretty wild last night. I laughed, acutely aware of everyone watching us. I was not wild. I was fun. Same thing. His eyes sparkled with mischief. And thanks for staying over. It was nice having someone to talk to until dawn. I felt Halden's eyes on me but didn't dare look at him. We had some great conversations. We did. Rowan's hand was still on my shoulder, his thumb making small circles that sent shivers down my spine. We should do it again soon. Rowan, I said, suddenly aware of how this might look. This is my husband, Halden. Rowan extended his hand with that easy confidence that made him so attractive. Nice to meet you, man. Eirene talks about you all the time. Halden shook his hand, his expression polite but cold. All good things, I hope. Of course. She's lucky to have someone so understanding. The way he said understanding made it sound like a weakness rather than a virtue. I saw Halden's jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. Well, I should get back to my table, Rowan said. But Eirene, text me later. I have something I want to show you. After he left, the silence at our table was deafening. He seems friendly, Marcus said finally. He's very friendly, I agreed, trying to ignore the way Jessica was staring at me with a mixture of fascination and horror. Eirene, Jessica said carefully, can I ask you something? As a friend? Of course. Are you sure you know what you're doing? I felt my defenses rise immediately. What do you mean? I mean, that man is clearly interested in you, and the way you two were looking at each other. She trailed off, glancing nervously at Halden. We're friends, Jessica. Close friends. I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, but I'm not going to apologize for having meaningful relationships with people. It's not about being uncomfortable, Marcus interjected. It's about respect. For your marriage, for your husband. Don't lecture me about respect, I snapped. My husband and I have an understanding. We trust each other. We don't let jealousy and insecurity dictate our friendships. Halden's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it and I saw his expression change. His face went completely blank, like a mask had dropped over his features. Everything okay? I asked. Fine, he said, but he was still staring at his phone screen. What is it? He turned the phone toward me. It was a video message from someone I didn't recognize. My heart stopped as I realized what I was looking at. It was footage from last night's party. Rowan and me dancing. His hands on my waist, my arms around his neck. The way I was looking up at him. The way he was looking down at me. The kiss on my forehead that had lasted just a little too long. Oh, God, Jessica breathed. Eirene. It's not what it looks like, I said quickly, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew how weak they sounded. What does it look like? Halden asked quietly. I stared at the video, watching myself laugh at something Rowan whispered in my ear, watching the way I leaned into him, the way my hand rested on his chest. It looks like two friends dancing, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Does it? Halden pocketed his phone and stood up. I think we should go. Halden, wait. But he was already walking toward the exit, leaving me sitting there with Jessica and Marcus staring at me like I was a stranger. Eirene, Jessica said softly, what are you doing? I wanted to explain, to make them understand that it wasn't what they thought, but as I replayed the video in my mind, I realized I wasn't even sure what I thought anymore. Monday morning at the office felt like walking into a minefield. I could sense the whispers before I even reached my desk, could feel eyes following me as I made my way through the open plan workspace where I'd worked as an administrator for the past 5 years. Morning, Eirene, called out Sandra from accounting, but her usual warm smile seemed strained. I settled into my cubicle and tried to focus on my emails, but I couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was talking about me. The video from Saturday night had clearly made its rounds through our social circle, and in a town like ours, news traveled fast. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the video. Yikes, maybe time to lawyer up. I deleted it immediately, my hands shaking slightly. This was ridiculous. So what if Rowan and I had danced, So what if we looked close? We were close. That wasn't a crime. Eirene, my supervisor Janet, appeared beside my desk. Could I see you in my office for a moment? My stomach dropped. Janet was usually direct but fair, and the careful neutrality in her voice told me this wasn't going to be a pleasant conversation. Her office was small and cramped, with motivational posters that suddenly seemed mocking. She closed the door behind us and gestured for me to sit. I'm going to be direct, she said, settling behind her desk. There's been some chatter around the office about your personal life. Normally, I wouldn't get involved, but when it starts affecting the workplace environment... What kind of chatter? People are talking about a video, about you and another man who isn't your husband. Some are saying it's inappropriate, others are defending you, and frankly, it's becoming a distraction. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. My personal life is my personal business, Janet. What I do on my own time has nothing to do with my job performance. Usually I'd agree, but when your personal choices become office gossip, when they're affecting team dynamics and productivity, they become my business too. Are you disciplining me for dancing with a friend? Janet sighed. I'm not disciplining you, Eirene. I'm asking you to be mindful of how your actions reflect on yourself and this company. We have a reputation to maintain. After the meeting, I retreated to the break room, my hands shaking as I poured coffee. This was insane. People were acting like I'd committed adultery in public instead of just dancing with a friend. My phone rang. It was Sel. Eirene, I just got off the phone with Mom. She's heard about the video. Great, just great. She's worried about you. We all are. Worried about what? That I'm finally living my life instead of being Halden's obedient little wife? There was a pause. Eirene, I saw the video too. And I have to ask, what exactly is going on with you and this Rowan guy? Nothing is going on. We're friends. Friends don't usually look at each other the way you two were looking at each other in that video. I felt a surge of anger. You were the one who told me to live my truth, Sel. You were the one who said I deserved to be happy. I know, but what? But now that people are gossiping, you're changing your tune. Now that it's getting messy, you want me to crawl back into my safe little box. I just think maybe you should slow down. Talk to Halden. Work on your marriage before you... I hung up on her. By lunchtime, I was furious. Furious at the gossips, furious at Janet, furious at Sel for abandoning me when I needed support. I decided to take control of the narrative. I opened Facebook and started typing. It's amazing how quickly people rush to judge when they see a woman actually living her life. Yes, I have male friends. Yes, I socialize with them. Yes, I even dance with them. If that threatens your narrow worldview, that's your problem, not mine. I refuse to apologize for refusing to live in a cage of other people's expectations. To those spreading rumors and making assumptions about my character, you don't know me, you don't know my marriage, and you don't know my heart. Do better. I posted it before I could second-guess myself, then sat back and waited for the support to pour in. Instead, the comments that started appearing made my stomach sink. Girl, that video though. Maybe your husband deserves better than a wife who parties with other men. There's living your life, and then there's disrespecting your marriage. This ain't it, sis. Eirene, I've known you for 10 years. This isn't you. What's really going on? I was deleting comments as fast as they appeared when my email chimed. The sender was anonymous, but the subject line made my blood run cold. Since you want to live your truth... Inside was a folder of screenshots. Text messages between Rowan and me that I'd forgotten about. Messages where I'd complained about Halden being boring. Messages where I'd said things like, I wish you were here, and you make me feel alive again. Messages where Rowan had called me beautiful, where he'd said he thought about me. There was also a bank statement showing an Uber charge from Thursday night. A ride from my house to Rowan's apartment at 11 p.m., returning at 2 a.m. A night when I'd told Halden I was working late. and at the bottom of the folder was the video from Saturday night, but this version was longer. It showed the kiss on my forehead, yes, but it also showed what happened after. The way I'd pulled back and looked into Rowan's eyes, the way he'd leaned down like he was going to kiss me properly, the way I hadn't pulled away until someone bumped into us. My hands were shaking as I closed the email. Someone had been watching me, documenting my friendship with Rowan, looking for evidence of... What? An affair? But as I stared at the screenshots of my own words, I realized how they looked, how they all looked together, like a woman who was emotionally, if not physically, cheating on her husband. The worst part was, I wasn't entirely sure they were wrong. The call from Linnea's teacher came Tuesday afternoon, just as I was leaving work early, to avoid the continued whispers and sideways glances from my colleagues. Mrs. Crowhurst, I wanted to speak with you about Linnea. She's been having some difficulties in class lately. My 7-year-old daughter had always been a bright, happy child, so this caught me off guard. What kind of difficulties? She seems anxious, distracted. Yesterday she asked me if parents could get in trouble for being bad friends. When I asked her what she meant, she said there was yelling and sad feelings at home. Guilt hit me like a physical blow. We've been having some adult discussions lately. Nothing that should affect her. Children are more perceptive than we give them credit for, Mrs. Crowhurst. They pick up on tension even when we think we're hiding it. Perhaps you and your husband could come in for a conference. After I hung up, I sat in my car in the school parking lot and cried. This was supposed to be about me finding happiness, about refusing to live a constrained life. I hadn't meant for Linnea to get caught in the crossfire. When I got home, Halden was in the kitchen making dinner. He looked up when I entered, and I was struck by how tired he looked. When was the last time I'd really looked at my husband, really seen him? Linnea's teacher called, I said, his hand stilled on the cutting board. What did she say? That Linnea's been anxious at school, that she's picking up on tension at home. Halden set down his knife and turned to face me fully. And what did you tell her? That we've been having some adult discussions. Adult discussions. He repeated the phrase like he was tasting something bitter. Is that what we're calling it? Halden, I don't want to fight, not in front of Linnea. Neither do I, but I'm not sure how to avoid it when my wife is publicly humiliating our family. I'm not. You are. His voice was quiet but firm. That video is everywhere, Eirene. Everyone we know has seen it. My co-workers, my mother, Linnea's friends' parents. Do you know what it's like to have people looking at you with pity? To have them whispering about whether you know your wife is cheating? I'm not cheating. Aren't you? He pulled out his phone and showed me something. It was my Facebook post from earlier, but now it had dozens of comments, most of them not supportive. This doesn't look like the behavior of someone with nothing to hide. I read through the comments, each one feeling like a slap. People I'd known for years, questioning my judgment, my character, my marriage. Where's Linnea? I asked, suddenly needing to see my daughter. At my mother's. I picked her up early from school because I didn't want her hearing playground gossip about her mother. The casual way he said it hit me harder than any accusation could have. Playground gossip? Kids repeat what they hear at home, Eirene. And right now, what they're hearing at home is that Mrs. Crowhurst from Maple Street is having an affair with her personal trainer. I sank into a kitchen chair, the weight of what I'd set in motion finally hitting me. It's not an affair. Then what is it? I opened my mouth to answer, but found I couldn't. What was it? A friendship, an emotional connection, a fantasy I'd been indulging in without considering the consequences. I don't know, I whispered. Halden sat down across from me, and for a moment he looked like the man I'd married. Concerned, caring, trying to understand. Eirene, I need you to be honest with me, completely honest. Are you in love with him? The question hung in the air between us. I thought about Rowan's smile, the way he made me laugh, the excitement I felt when my phone buzzed with his messages. "I don't know," I said again. "Do you love me?" That should have been an easy question. We'd been married for 8 years, had built a life together, had a child together. But sitting there in our kitchen, I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt for Halden what I felt when I was with Rowan. "I don't know that either." Halden nodded slowly, like I'd confirmed something he'd already suspected. "Okay. Okay? Okay, at least you're being honest. Finally." He stood up and started putting the dinner ingredients away. "What are you doing?" "I'm not hungry anymore, and I have some calls to make." "What kind of calls?" "The kind I should have made days ago." Later that evening, Judith called. Halden's mother had always been kind to me, treating me like the daughter she'd never had. But her voice was cool when I answered. "Eirene, I think we need to talk." "Of course, what about?" "About what you're doing to my son, about what you're doing to your daughter." "Judith, I know how this looks, but do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're destroying your family for a man who doesn't even care enough to respect your marriage. That's not fair, isn't it? Has this Rowan person ever suggested you work on your marriage? Has he ever encouraged you to talk to your husband about your problems? Or has he just been happy to be the sympathetic ear while you complain about the man who loves you?" I was quiet because she was right. Rowan had never once suggested I try to fix things with Halden. He'd only listened and agreed, and made me feel justified in my unhappiness. "I raised my son to be a good man, Eirene, a loyal husband and father. He doesn't deserve this. I'm not trying to hurt him, but you are hurting him. Every day with every choice you make. And worse, you're hurting Linnea. She asked me tonight if Daddy was sad because Mommy doesn't love him anymore." The words hit me like a physical blow. She said that. Children see everything, dear. They just don't always have the words to express it. After she hung up, I found myself staring at my reflection in the dark kitchen window. When had I become this person? When had I become someone who put her own desires above her family's well-being? My phone buzzed with a text from Rowan. "Haven't heard from you today. Everything okay?" I stared at the message for a long time before responding, just dealing with some family stuff. "Want to talk about it? I'm here for you." "I know. That's part of the problem." I turned off my phone without waiting for his response. Upstairs, I could hear Halden on a call in his office. His voice was low, but I caught fragments. Documented evidence. Custody considerations. Protect my daughter. I stood outside his door, my hand raised to knock, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, because I was starting to realize that I'd already made my choice. I'd made it the moment I decided my happiness was worth more than my family's stability. And now I was going to have to live with the consequences. Wednesday morning, I woke up to find Halden's side of the bed untouched. I found him in the guest room, fully dressed, sitting on the edge of the bed with his laptop open and papers spread around him. "Did you sleep here last night?" He looked up at me, and I was struck by how different he seemed. There was a hardness in his eyes that I'd never seen before, a resolution that made my stomach clench with anxiety. "I did. I think it's better this way for now." "Better for who?" "For Linnea. For me. For you, probably, though you might not realize it yet." I noticed the papers scattered around him weren't work documents. They looked official, legal. "What are you doing?" "Research, making sure I understand my rights, and my options." The word options sent a chill down my spine. "Options for what?" "For protecting myself and my daughter." "Your daughter? She's my daughter too, Halden." "Is she? Because lately, it seems like you've forgotten that. You've been so focused on your new friendship that you've forgotten you have responsibilities here." I felt anger flare up. "Don't you dare question my love for Linnea." "I'm not questioning your love. I'm questioning your priorities." He closed the laptop and stood up, gathering the papers into a neat stack. I caught a glimpse of letterhead from a law firm downtown. "You contacted a lawyer?" I contacted several lawyers. I wanted to understand what my options are if the situation continues to deteriorate. What situation? What are you talking about? Halden looked at me like I was being deliberately obtuse. Eirene, you demanded permission to sleep at another man's house. You publicly humiliated our family. You've been having what appears to be an emotional affair for months. You can't even tell me if you love me or him more. What situation do you think I'm talking about? I never said I loved him. You said you didn't know if you loved me. In my book, that's the same thing. I sat down heavily in the chair by the window. So what, you're going to divorce me? Just like that? I don't want to divorce you, Eirene, but I'm not going to sit here and watch you destroy our family while I do nothing to protect what's left of it. Protect it from what? From me? If necessary, yes. The casual way he said it, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world, made me see red. You bastard. You're threatening to take my daughter away from me because I have a friend. I'm not threatening anything. I'm preparing for possibilities, and he's not just a friend, Eirene. We both know that. I stood up, my hands shaking with rage. You know what? Fine. If you want to play hardball, I can play hardball too. You think you're the only one who can call lawyers? You think you're the only one with options? What are you saying? I'm saying maybe I should file first. Maybe I should be the one protecting myself from a controlling, manipulative husband who's trying to isolate me from my friends. Holden's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes, something that looked almost like relief. Is that what you want to do? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm tired of walking on eggshells around your jealousy and insecurity. Okay. Okay. That's all you have to say. What would you like me to say, Eirene? That I'll fight you? That I'll make this ugly and painful for everyone involved? Is that what you want? I stared at him, frustrated by his calm demeanor. Where was the fight? Where was the passion? Where was the man who would fight for our marriage? I want you to care enough to fight for us. I've been fighting for us for months, Eirene. Every time you came home late from training sessions with Rowan, every time you lit up when your phone buzzed with his messages, every time you compared me unfavorably to your exciting new friend, I've been fighting, but I've been fighting alone. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you asked me about my day? When's the last time you seemed genuinely happy to see me? When's the last time you chose me over him? I opened my mouth to argue, but realized I couldn't answer any of those questions. I thought so, he said quietly. My phone rang, interrupting the tension. It was Sel. I can't talk right now, I said. Eirene, you need to stop. This has gone too far. What are you talking about? I'm talking about your Facebook post. I'm talking about the rumors flying around town. I'm talking about the fact that Mom called me crying because she's embarrassed to show her face at church. So now you're all against me too? We're not against you. We're worried about you. You're not acting like yourself. Maybe this is myself. Maybe this is who I really am when I'm not trying to be everyone else's version of the perfect wife and mother. Eirene, listen to yourself. You sound... I hung up on her again. Halden was watching me with that same calm expression that was starting to drive me crazy. Your family's worried about you too, he said. My family doesn't understand. Or maybe they understand better than you think they do. I was about to respond when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and answered immediately. Yes, this is Halden Crowhurst. I could hear a woman's voice on the other end, professional and crisp. Yes, I can be there this afternoon. 2:00 works fine. He hung up and looked at me. That was my lawyer. She wants to meet. To discuss what? Our situation, my options, what steps I need to take to protect myself and Linnea. You're really doing this? I'm really doing this. I felt panic rising in my chest. This was all moving too fast, spinning out of control. Halden, wait, can't we talk about this? Can't we try counseling or something? Can we? Are you willing to cut contact with Rowan? Are you willing to be completely transparent about where you go and who you're with? Are you willing to work on our marriage instead of looking for happiness outside of it? I hesitated, and that hesitation was answer enough. I thought so, he said again. An hour later, my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Crowhurst, this is Jennifer Walsh from Walsh & Associates. I represent your husband in a family matter. I was hoping we could schedule a meeting to discuss some concerns that have arisen. My mouth went dry. What kind of concerns? I think it would be better if we discussed this in person. Are you available tomorrow afternoon? What is this about? Mrs. Crowhurst, I think you know what this is about. The question is whether we can resolve this amicably or whether we need to take more formal steps. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen staring at the phone. This was really happening. Halden wasn't bluffing. He wasn't going to back down or try to win me back or fight for our marriage. He was going to fight for himself and our daughter instead. And suddenly, I wasn't sure I was ready for that fight. Thursday afternoon, I sat in Jennifer Walsh's sleek downtown conference room, facing her sharp gaze across a mahogany table. Halden sat beside her, composed, a thick manila folder between them. Mrs. Crowhurst, thank you for coming, Jennifer began calmly. Mr. Crowhurst's primary concern is Linnea's well-being. I tried to protest. This should stay private, but she opened the folder. The timeline unfolded methodically. Personal training sessions with Rowan Hill, escalating to late-night consultations. Bank statements highlighted extra payments. My supervisor's statement confirmed I hadn't worked past 6 p.m. in months. Phone records showed hundreds of texts, credit card charges for dinners, Uber rides to Rowan's apartment. Then came the school report. Linnea's rising anxiety, questions about whether her parents still loved each other, parent statements expressing concern for their children. Jennifer played security footage from Meridian Bar. Rowan and me in a booth, hands touching, my lingering kiss on his cheek. Private investigator photos followed, us leaving his gym, walking close, outside his apartment, hotel receipts from the Marriott, security footage of us entering and leaving together. 6 months of emotional affair turning physical, Jennifer said gently. Deception. Impact on your daughter. Halden spoke quietly. I won't let her be collateral damage. The separation agreement requested primary custody for him, supervised visitation for me initially, contingent on ending contact with Rowan, counseling, and 6 months of stable behavior. If you don't agree, we file and a judge decides. With this evidence, the outcome is clear. Tears blurred the papers. You planned this, I whispered to Halden. I prepared for it, he corrected. They left me alone with the documents and the crushing realization my pursuit of happiness had become betrayal. Rowan had already faded. Halden had methodically protected Linnea. I'd thought I was claiming freedom. Instead, I'd traded a stable family for consequences I never imagined, and lost everything that truly mattered.